So I challenged myself to read the Naruto manga every day in an attempt to learn Japanese. Did I succeed? Stick around to find out.
First off, let me explain the rules of the challenge. 1. I have to read at least one chapter a day. If I feel like reading more, then I can, but it has to be at least one chapter. Each chapter can vary between 20 and 70 pages a day. Number 2. The first read-through is a measure of my comprehension. I'll mark whether I understood what was said or I didn't in a dialogue bubble. Explanations or thoughts I'll mark for the panel so I can reference back to later. I'm not counting bubbles with only names, sound effects, noises, etc. My comprehension percentage will be based off this. Number 3. I'll give myself another score, we'll call it a plot score. 1 to 5 based on how well I thought I understood the plot of the chapter. Dialogue along with pictures could possibly make this a higher score than what my comprehension percentage is. 1 being barely a few words to 5 being complete comprehension. I'm honestly hoping for an average of 3 and hoping to increase this as time goes on. Number 4, read the chapter again, but this time looking everything up that I didn't understand. Whether it's words, grammar structure, whatever it is I need to look up. This is more or less the learning stage. Number 5, read the entire volume. Once steps 1 through 4 have been completed for each chapter, the following day I'll read the entire volume. This is to test my comprehension to see if it's improved any. And number 6, last but not least, have fun. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're not having fun, it's not as efficient. Learn this the hard way. So now time for some stats. I'll be comparing the first and second read-throughs. I got my comprehension score numbers based on how many bubbles and thought panels I counted in total, and how many of those I got correct. My plot score was purely based on how well I felt I understood the chapter. In chapter 1, I had a 48 comprehension with a plot score of 3. I understood many of the not so heavy text bubbles, and this was the beginning, so there was a lot of explaining in the world to do. Chapter 2, 36 comprehension with a plot score of 4. I felt like I understood way more than the first chapter despite getting a much lower score. I think it was mostly due to the vocabulary I knew and the drawings. There was a few times in the chapter I understood every word but I didn't understand what the sentence was saying. Chapter 3 was 39% comprehension with a plot score of 3. There was a bunch of vocab in this one I didn't understand and it would be like the key point in the sentence, so it was a little difficult. Chapter 4, 48% comprehension with a plot score of 3. There was introductions mostly, and everyone learns introductions at first, and then there were some explanations where I was completely lost. Chapter 5 was a 44% comprehension with a plot score of 4. It was mostly an action chapter. So chapter 6, 42% comprehension with a plot score of 4. I understood new information in this one, so that was pretty exciting. Chapter 7, 54% comprehension with a plot score of 4. I missed some conversation-heavy details. With completing the whole volume, I averaged around 44% comprehension. I was still able to enjoy what was going on even though many of the details and key points weren't understood. It took me about a week to get through the whole book, and with that I did my final read-through. I also decided to time myself to see how long it would take to read a whole volume. So chapter 1 went from 48% to 53%. Chapter 2 went from 36% to 54%. Chapter 3 went from 39% to 60%. Chapter 4 went from 48% to 62%. Chapter 5 went from 44% to 55%. Chapter 6 went from 42% to 59%. Chapter 7 went from 54% to 75%. And my whole volume comprehension went from 44% to 59%. The entire volume took me 3 hours and 22 minutes to read. So here are some final thoughts. I feel like some of the numbers are way higher in some chapters, mostly due to 1 or 2 word bubbles and fighting dialogue. Many of the words repeat throughout, so when I looked up a word that had a high frequency, it would fill so much of the dialogue in. But I think that the comprehension of 44% to 59% in 1 week is a big jump. So the real test is to see what happens in the next volume and how it compares. I plan on finishing the entire series, so feel free to subscribe to keep up to date with my progress. Thanks for watching.